Have you ever wondered what's really going on inside the mind of a toddler? Well, between the ages of 2 and 5, a child is on this incredible journey, not across the playground, but through their own inner world. Today, we're diving into that fascinating story of how little kids build their personalities, learn to connect with others, and start to figure out their place in the universe. So, where do we start? We're going to go from the inside out. First up, we'll tackle that huge question, who am I? Then, we'll look at how a moral compass starts to take shape. From there, we'll get into the powerful, and often surprising ways kids learn about gender. And finally, we'll zoom out to see how family and friends bring it all together. Let's get into it.
All right, so our first stop is maybe one of the biggest questions any of us ever asks. Who am I? For a little kid, the answer to this question is just starting to form, and it becomes the absolute foundation of their personality.
So think of a child's self-concept like the very first story they write about themselves. It's made up of these simple but really powerful ideas. I'm a fast runner, or I'm good at sharing. I love to draw. But here's the thing. They're not writing this story alone. It's really co-authored, shaped every single day by the love and support they get from their parents.
Okay, so if self-concept is the story, then self-esteem is how the kid feels about being the main character in that story. It's their own gut feeling about their own worth, and as you can guess, it has a massive, massive impact on their happiness and their confidence to go out and explore the world. And this is where the parent's role just becomes crystal clear. I mean, look at the difference here. When a child tries something and their parents react with genuine enthusiasm and praise, it's like rocket fuel for their confidence. It makes them want to try new things. But if they're met with constant criticism, that little spark can just go out, leaving them feeling ashamed and way less likely to take on a new challenge. So once a child has this budding sense of who they are, the next giant leap is developing an internal compass for right and wrong. How does that even happen? Well, the way we think about this has actually changed a lot over the years.
And this slide just shows that shift perfectly. The old school view was basically that kids behave because they're afraid of getting in trouble. Simple as that. But the modern view, which we call induction, is so much more powerful. It's about helping a child see how their actions make other people feel. It's about building empathy, not fear.
Of course, kids also learn by watching us. But they don't just copy anybody. The research shows they're way more likely to imitate adults who are warm and caring, who they see as knowing what they're doing, and this one's huge, who are consistent. In other words, adults who actually practice what they preach.
And this gets us to a really critical point about discipline. Hitting or shouting might stop a behavior right there in the moment, sure, but it's a short-term fix. It doesn't actually teach the child why what they did was wrong. And worse, it can actually model aggression as the way you solve your problems.
Okay, let's switch gears and talk about another massive piece of a child's identity puzzle, gender. During these preschool years, kids are like little detectives, constantly picking up clues from the world around them to figure out what it means to be a boy or a girl. And the ideas they come up with can be surprisingly black and white.
So this is a question we should all probably pause and think about. Do we teach our kids these stereotypes? The honest answer is, yeah, we do. A lot of the time we don't even realize it. A child's world is just filled with these powerful messages about gender, and they soak it all up like a sponge.
And those clues come from everywhere, right? Parents often buy gender-specific toys and clothes without a second thought. Teachers might praise girls for being quiet and boys for being assertive. And then you get to the playground, and their friends can be the toughest enforcers of all, sometimes teasing or leaving out kids who don't fit into those neat little boxes.
And what's really telling is how differently we react when kids cross these invisible lines. Society is generally much more accepting of a tomboy than a boy who enjoys things we've decided are girly. It really suggests that the box we build for our boys can be a lot smaller and more restrictive.
So far, we've been pretty focused on what's going on inside the child. For our last section, let's zoom out. How do their relationships, starting with family and then moving to friends, get them ready for the super complex social world they're just starting to enter? Now, this table is a fantastic way to break down different parenting approaches. It basically works on two scales. One is warmth. How much affection and support is there? The other is structure. How many rules and expectations are there? And when you combine them, you get these four very distinct styles, from authoritarian, which is very strict, to permissive, which is pretty much anything goes. So, which one works best? Well, the research is really, really clear on this. It's the authoritative style. That combination of high warmth and high structure, that blend of love and limits, seems to be the magic recipe.
It gives kids both the emotional security and the clear guidance they need to grow into capable, mature, and resilient people.
Now, outside of the family, the main place a kid's social skills get built is through play. And play itself actually evolves. It starts with a child just playing by themselves. Then they move to what's called parallel play. You've seen this, where kids play next to each other, but not with each other. Eventually, that turns into sharing, and finally, true cooperative play, where they're working together to build a fort or create a game.
And it's through this whole journey of play that real friendships start to form. And let me tell you, these first friendships are a huge deal. They are the training ground for empathy, for sharing, for trust. They really build a secure foundation for all the other relationships that are going to come later in life. So at the end of the day, understanding this whole developmental journey isn't just some academic thing. It's a tool for empathy. It helps us appreciate the absolutely monumental work a child is doing every single day. So the real question it leaves us with is this. Now that we know all this, how can we use it to better see and to better support the incredible, complex world that exists inside every child?